Hey guys, it's Friday, so we'll be taking you through another deck this week, and this week it's going to be Jund Midrange. So as the title says, we're playing a mid-range deck, so we have a lot of really awesome creatures in the 5 to 7 mana range, and a lot of removal, as Jund is known for, and some early game mana fixing, just to get us there and make sure that we can cast all these ridiculous bombs. So let me take you through the curve here. I will start with 2 mana. We are playing 4 copies of Elvish Visionary, 2 mana 1/1 draw card. Pretty much a staple in all the green mid-range decks, just an early blocker against the aggressive decks. And the card draw makes sure that you hit all your land drops and find your cultivates and your removal spells. It just it fits the curve really well, and the extra card, the fact that it replaces itself is really strong. So we're going to play that. We're also playing Satyr Wayfinder here. He's a 2 mana 1/1 just like the Visionary. This guy lets you flip up the top 4 cards of your library. You grab any land from among them, put it in your hand, and the rest go into your graveyard. So this deck also has a very minor graveyard sub-theme because we have the Wayfinders in here. Plus, it gives us a chance to use our removal spells early in the game, and we can bring them back out of the graveyard. I'll show you how we do that now in a second. So we've got 13 spells on 2 mana. That means I have 5 left to show you, and here they are down here. Playing 3 copies of Ground Assault. It deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. It's probably the best removal spell in the game, and since we're playing Satyr Wayfinders and Cultivates in this deck, I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer to throw all 3 copies of this in here. It kills the best bombs in the game for just 2 mana. So we're going to play all of these. And our other 2 mana spell is Treasured Find. You get a card back from your graveyard to your hand. You can run up to 3 copies of this. I'm only running 2 because I don't want to have one in my opening hand, generally. I don't want to have 2 in my hand at the same time. But if the game goes somewhat long, I would like to draw into one. Gives you a bit of flexibility to spend cards like Ground Assault a little bit earlier than you'd like. Because, for just 2 mana you can get it back out of your graveyard and use it again. So, and again, we're playing the Satyr Wayfinders, which dumps cards in the graveyard, so sometimes you can just tutor up one of your bombs straight out of the graveyard. So that is our 2 mana spells. On 3 mana, we're playing Cultivate, since we're playing a lot of big, stupid creatures, and a lot of difficult mana costs in the deck, a lot of double black, double red, triple green. We definitely need this card. It ramps us ahead, and it fixes for 2 colors of mana, so, I mean, it's pretty excellent. I'm going to play that. Also on 3 mana, we have Anger of the Gods. So this is our answer to the Weenie Hordes. 3 damage to each creature, and it exiles them all. I mean, tokens are a thing in this metagame, so this we're playing red, so we are going to play Anger of the Gods, since pretty much all of our creatures survive it, except our early game utility creatures. So, it's a great spell in this deck. And we're also going to play all 4 copies of Resounding Thunder. So, as an instant speed, 3 mana, 3 damage, it's decent, I mean, there's not much else this deck is doing in that range of mana other than cultivating. So, I mean, at that stage of the game, before you're playing your creatures, you can kill your opponent's utility creatures, but when you get to 8 mana, and we're playing ramp in this deck, and we're playing all the colors that it needs there to cycle, so when you get to cycle this thing, it's uncounterable. It deals 6 damage to target creature or player, and you get to draw cards, so it's pretty amazing, and 8 mana is definitely not a stretch for this deck, so we're going to play all of those. So, yeah, that's the 3 mana slot. 4 mana slot, we only have 2 cards. It's the Graveborn Muse, so she's a 4 mana 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw X cards, lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. Now, she's the only zombie in the deck. So, I mean, you put it down, you draw an extra card every turn, and you lose 1 life. Unless you have 2 of them on the field, which you probably shouldn't in this deck. There's not a whole lot of life gained. So, she's just an extra card every turn, and if your opponent doesn't answer her, then the advantage just spirals out of control, and you essentially you can't lose if you're drawing an extra card over a period of 3 or 4 turns. And if they do deal with her, that's less removal they have for your bigger top end stuff. So she's an excellent card in here. This deck needs a source of card advantage, so she is the one that I have chosen. So then we're looking at the 5 mana range. We have only 4 spells, one of which is Shadowborn Demon. So we're going to play this guy for a couple of reasons. I mean, he's a pretty much unconditional kill spell. He misses a few key cards like, Runescar Demons, Baneslayer Angels, Grizzlebrands, but he hits pretty much what you want to hit. And since we're playing Satyr Wayfinders and a minor graveyard sub-theme, I mean, this guy, there's a chance you can get to just keep him around as a 5/6, but you'll also have a lot of 1/1s that you can feed to him to keep him on the battlefield with the 8 copies, 4 Visionaries, and 4 Wayfinders. So, he's a pretty good dude here, and we are definitely going to play him. Also, on 5 mana, we're looking at Stormbreath Dragon, another absolutely insane bomb. 4/4 Flying Haste, protection from white, which is extremely relevant in this metagame, things like Reprisal and Angelic Edict. Plus it has the Monstrosity, which lets you make it a 7/7, and you get to deal a little bit of damage to your opponent based on how many cards they have. But A 4/4 hasted flyer for 5 mana with upside is pretty excellent. So we're going to play that, and we are also on 5 mana playing the Arbor Colossus. It's a 6/6 reach for just 5 mana. It's a bit rough on the green there. We need triple green, but again with 4 Wayfinders and 4 Cultivates, it's not too difficult if you have him in your hand to just prioritize fixing for green mana and get this guy out on the 4th turn, and he pretty much dominates the board, and also he adds to the deck's removal suite because his monstrosity ability lets you swat opposing flyers out of the air, things like the Baneslayers that most decks struggle with. He can just straight up kill them and become a 9/9 in the process, which is pretty excellent. So those are our 5 mana plays. So now we have 7 plays above the 5 mana range. So we'll go all the way to the left and see if we have any 6s. We do have a 6 here. That is Infernal Titan. He's a 6 mana 6/6. He has fire breathing. And when he enters the battlefield or attacks, it gives you a Flames of the Firebrand or Arc Lightning, whatever you want to call it. You get to spread out 3 damage however you like. So I mean, he can play the removal role or he can play the finisher role. He's just a fantastic card. So since we're stuffing the deck with Giant Bombs and we're playing red, we're going to play this guy. And I think that's the only 6. Everything else is on 7. We have a copy of Sheoldred Whispering One. This card is just absolutely insane. So has Swamp Walk. If your opponent plays a swamp, then they can't block her. I mean, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Again, we're playing Wayfinders, and opponents tend to have removal, so whatever we dump in the graveyard or whatever we lose, just through gameplay, our opponent having removal, we get to pick it back up out of the graveyard, which is insane, especially since there's a lot of enter the battlefield effects in this deck. So she has a lot of value here. And at the beginning of your opponent's upkeep, they have to sacrifice creatures, so I mean, I don't have to tell you how nuts this card is. It's absolutely insane. Used to be, before the expansion pack came out, this was a Grizzlebrand. But she's 1 mana cheaper, easier on black, and just way more upside if she sticks. So this deck didn't really gain enough life for you to be able to cast a Grizzlebrand and just draw 14 cards off it right away. So she has a lot more value here. Next card is the Runescar Demon, 7 mana 6/6 flyer, which is pretty huge, but you get to tutor up any card you want in your library. And if the card you really want is in your graveyard, say Sheoldred, then you just go get a treasured find and you pluck it out of the graveyard that way. So, I mean, again, he's a finisher, and when your deck is stuffed with bombs like this one is, you're eventually going to overwhelm your opponent's removal, and all the creatures in this deck also have awesome upside with enter the battlefield effects and things like that. So this guy is pretty awesome. Sheoldred has a lot of synergy with him. Obviously, if he dies, you get to tutor another card when you bring him back. Also with Shadowborn, because you can just make Shadowborn sacrifice itself, and then Sheoldred can keep yanking it back to keep killing things. And the final card in the deck list, it should be pretty obvious. We're running 3 copies of Pelakka Worm. 7/7 trample, gain 7 life. When it dies, draw a card. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this is, pound for pound, the best card in the Duels 2015 metagame. It's ridiculously powerful. We get to run 3 copies. It really helps you recover against aggro, and it closes the game very quickly. And if they deal with it, then you draw cards. So I mean, it's absolutely a bomb in this format. So if your deck is running Cultivate, you should be playing all copies all 3 copies of this guy, in my humble opinion. So that is the deck. Like I said, removal, big stupid stuff, mana ramp, and mana fixing. That's the name of the game. And a little bit of card draw. So I'll take you over and show you the mana base now. We're running 24 land because that's pretty much the standard number in any mid-range deck. We want to get to 4 or 5 mana and cast our Cultivates and Wayfinders and things like that. So originally I played 4 copies of each of the on-color gates, but I cut them back to 3 each once the Savage Lands were released. I mean, I find this is a good mix of mana. Pretty much the colors in this deck are pretty even, except the only thing that you need, you want to be able to make sure that you can cast your Visionaries and Wayfinders on the 2nd turn. And then those Visionaries, those Wayfinders and the Cultivates can fix your black and red for you. So that's why I've gone with 6 forests as opposed to 3 and 3 in the mountains and swamps. Just so we can hit those early Wayfinders and Cultivates, and then we can just pluck out the swamps and mountains as we need them, based on what gates we have in play. So yeah, this is a strong deck. I mean, you're looking at the star ratings down there: speed, strength, control, and synergy. You wouldn't say, but if you play the deck, I mean, you can see there's a whack load of big stuff here, a lot of good removal, and I mean, this removal spell gets better, and we're playing ramp, so it's just insane. Yeah, it's a really good deck. I really enjoy it. So hope you enjoy watching me play it. Maybe you'll sleeve it up and play it for yourself. Who knows? Maybe you can tell me what you think you'd like to play in here. I've heard people say they might want to see a Banefire in here. 1 Banefire certainly wouldn't go astray. But I think the Thunders are enough uncounterable burn. And they're instant, so, you know, kind of like them a little bit better. I don't know what I'd cut for a... I don't know what I'd cut for a Banefire if I had to if you had to put me on the spot. I may cut Shadowborn, but he has such good synergy with Shalders. It'd be hard to fit a Banefire in here. Maybe you'd cut a Thunder, I don't know. But I like the deck the way it is. Yeah, and I hope you like it too. Thanks for watching this deck tech, and I should have a gameplay up for you shortly.